Okay. Hi, everybody. I hope this finds you safe and well as can be expected. I'm Emma Archer from Scout Maven, and my usual profession is that of a recruiter for the food and beverage sector. Clearly, over the last couple of weeks, the demand for my services has declined somewhat. So I'm sat at home, I'm nursing a broken foot, and I'm feeling pretty useless if I'm honest. And I'm someone that is passionate about helping people, being productive, and having a positive impact on people's lives, which is what took me into recruitment and keeps me there. So I was thinking about ways that I could help the community, and another large part of my life, I guess, is the wellness and personal development arena. And over the years, I have developed a really rich network of contacts and resources in this realm. So I thought that could be one way I could help, is by sharing with you the expertise of some of the specialists who I know and who I feel can offer some really valuable advice and support to help make our lives in lockdown a little bit more bearable, and even may even be beneficial. Who knows? So today I've invited an old friend to join me and give me some hacks on dealing with this COVID-19 situation. So Kiron Collett she's a kinesiologist and a human givens psychotherapist, and that is an accreditation. That's the only government endorsed accreditation for de-traumatizing military personnel and war vets. And she runs the Bristol Human Givens Centre practice in Bristol. She specialises in depression, anxiety and trauma in both adults and children. And you can see all of her details on her LinkedIn profile. Kiron has a wealth of advice on how we can cope with the difficulties many of us are facing mentally at the moment, and is going to speak about the worry cycle. And I think that there's very few of us that haven't been affected by worry and anxiety in the current climate, and I think this could offer some immediate relief for the whole family. So it's with great pleasure that I hand over to Kiron for her to share her thoughts and wisdom with you.
Thank you, Emma. Hello, welcome everybody. I hope that the next few minutes provide some really valuable advice for you. In the climate that we find ourselves, it's very, very new to everybody, and we're all trying to navigate this new arena. So what I really wanted to touch upon today is the worry cycle, because like Emma said, I don't think we actually know of anyone who's not worried at the moment. And sometimes when you're educated about what's actually going on for you and it's normalized, sometimes that can have a calming effect in itself. So I'm just going to describe what the worry cycle is and what you can do immediately to help yourselves and your family navigate this new arena. So when we look at worry, we wake up in the morning and we have our normal worries during the day. So we worry about work, we worry about the children, we worry about where we need to be and all that kind of stuff. We have a new type of worry at the moment. So we worry during the day, and what happens is something has to happen with that worry. It has to be diffused in the brain. And the way that it's diffused in the brain is at night time during the sleep cycle. So everybody has a 90-minute sleep cycle when they go to sleep. So during this 90-minute sleep cycle, it's broken up into two elements. The first element is something called slow wave sleep, and the second element is called REM sleep. And REM sleep stands for rapid eye movement. And you may have noticed that sometimes when you close your eyes and you can see your eyes darting from side to side, that literally is the brain's way of filing what's been going on during the day. The slow wave sleep is really, really important, and it's really important now because that's where the immune system tends to get repaired. It's where cells regenerate. And if you can imagine, it's like taking a computer and it's like unplugging it from the wall. And when you unplug it from the wall, the brain gets a really, really good rest. It's the time where everything is just regenerated and you get a really, really restful sleep. In that 90-minute sleep cycle, the majority of your sleep should be slow wave sleep. Then you move on to what's called REM sleep. And during this time, it's where the brain files things away, but also the worry that's happened during the day and any emotional arousals that you've had where you've been upset about something, it gets diffused in this REM sleep. Now, if you have the right proportion of slow wave sleep and you have the right proportion of REM sleep, what happens is when you wake up in the morning, you actually feel refreshed and you've had a good night's sleep. If you feel refreshed, you're going to feel motivated to then get on with your new day. What's happening at the moment is that people are worrying so much during the day, it's then impacting the balance of sleep. So instead of having this much slow wave sleep and this much REM sleep, the REM sleep is beginning to take over the slow wave sleep. And REM sleep is really draining for the brain and the body. It requires a lot of energy. So even if you feel you've had 7 or 8 hours of sleep, you've had the wrong balance of sleep. So when you wake up in the morning and you're tired, and this is the key when you're tired when you wake up, if you are then tired, the first system that it hijacks in the brain is your motivation. So if you are then unmotivated and you can't get on with your day, it then will impact the next day and you'll worry more, and then it will be the wrong balance of sleep. And then before you know it, you're slipping into that slope of depression, anxiety, and any kind of mental distress. So the key is the amount of worry that you're doing during the day and having the right balance of sleep. In terms of the worry during the day, there's something that everybody can do immediately, and it's called 7-Eleven breathing. It's actually named after the shops that are in America, 7-Eleven. There's no great science behind it. They open at 7 in the morning and they close at 11 at night. So the idea is that you breathe in for a count of 7 and you breathe out for a count of 11. So we're not taking seconds, we're actually counting, and I will do a demonstration of how that works. The principle behind 7-Eleven breathing is that it actually triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. So it triggers the relaxation response in the body. Now, we've heard time and time again that actually breathing is good for us. You actually have to do it for it to work. So this 7-Eleven breathing, if you do it in the morning and you do it around lunchtime and you do it in the evening, it is going to relax you. It's going to calm your nervous system down. So that worry cycle that you start to get into and your thoughts start getting carried away with yourselves, it will start to cut into that. So you'll start to worry less. So it's really important to do that 7-Eleven breathing a couple of times during the day. Now, how to do it effectively. So this is the key. Most of us tend to breathe in a very shallow way. So we can see our chest going up and down, and that is breathing in a very shallow way. We need to be able to get the breath right down into the tummy, into tummy breaths. So the key is if you put your 2 middle fingers together and you put them underneath your belly button. So just find where your belly button is and just put them underneath your belly button. So if you're taking a breath in, what happens is your tummy should expand. If your tummy expands, your 2 middle fingers should start to separate like that. And then when you're breathing out and you're releasing the air from your body, the 2 middle fingers should come back together like that. So the idea is that you breathe in for 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And it's in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that breathing is not done through the mouth. It's done in through the nose and it's done out through the nose. And when you do that, it will trigger the relaxation response within your body. So quite important that you do that correctly. I find the best way to do it, and my children most certainly find the best way to do it, is lying down, because then your tummy will go flat and you can very, very easily feel when your fingers are beginning to separate and when they're beginning to come back together. So that's the first thing on how you can intervene with the worry cycle. The second part of intervening with the worry cycle is actually sleep hygiene, is getting that right balance of sleep. Now, we are at home, and what's happening is our routine has gone out the window. We are getting up later because we think we can have those wonderful lie-ins, and we're going to bed later. And what that does, it sets our routine off, and our sleep then gets disturbed. So the key for sleep hygiene is to go to bed at the same time and also to wake up at the same time. There are loads of other steps in between. And Emma, I don't know whether you want me to go through those steps now.
Yeah, I mean, you could go on, because I know that sleep's so important, and that sleep hygiene is critical.
Okay.
A good night's sleep, and I know that I've had to make changes in my life over the years to get a good night's sleep, and I know that these things really work. So yeah, carry on. I think it's fascinating. Thanks, Kiron.
Okay. So sleep hygiene, there are some guidelines, and if you stick to these guidelines really, really well, you will get back into sleeping in your bed and getting a good night's sleep. The first thing is exactly what I said earlier, is to make sure you are going to bed at the same time and you are waking up at the same time. That is absolutely critical. The brain is being trained on how to sleep when you are in bed. So go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. The second one is pretty obvious, but a lot of people don't do this, is make sure your room is dark. So you have a gland in your brain called the pineal gland, and it has to have darkness in order to activate melatonin. So make sure you've got some blackout blinds, or your room is dark, in order to get that process going. The third thing is, when you are going to sleep, is when you're in bed, if you haven't fallen asleep within 30 minutes, is to get out of bed and then go and do something really, really, really boring. So what we're trying to say to the brain is that when you're in bed, and when you're lying in bed for hours and hours and hours, your brain then recognizes that actually the bed is a place of being awake. We're trying to turn that on its head and say, well, actually, I'm only going to be awake in bed for 30 minutes and I'm going to get out. So you get out and you do something really, really boring. And some of the boring stuff that I've given my clients to do is to read a book that they wouldn't normally read, they find really boring, but they read it standing up. Because if you're going to be bored out of bed and your brain knows that this is a very boring activity, then you're going to want to go back to bed. You're going to start yawning and think, I need to go back to bed. So you go back to bed, and again, within 30 minutes, if you're not asleep, get back out of bed. So this routine reminds me, if you're a parent, this routine might remind you a little bit of the super nanny technique, where when your child gets out of bed, you then take your child back to bed. When your child gets back out of bed, you get back to bed. But we're adults, we know better. But the key is the thing that you do outside of bed has to be really boring. So there's no kind of making a really nice hot drink and snuggling in with a book and being nice and warm. It has to be really boring. So cleaning floors, cleaning toilets, doing something that you wouldn't normally do at night time, that the brain doesn't like. When you do that enough times, you will then relate that the bed is for a place to sleep. So that's another tip. The other one is that gorgeous routine that you have before you go to bed, is make sure you're kind of, putting all your devices down, you're not taking them to bed with you, is to put them away and have a really nice bath, maybe to relax the body, relax the muscles, and get into bed and have that right environment for you to fall asleep in the first place. Another key tip is, when you are in bed, the only thing that you should be doing in bed is sleeping. Laptops, phones, reading books, all those things, if you can do those on the sofa or do them outside of the bedroom, is to keep that there. And then when you go into your environment of the bed, your brain recognizes that actually it's conditioned that is sleep, is to stick with that. So I hope that helps. They're the guidelines on how to get into really good sleep hygiene.
That was fascinating and really, really, really valuable, Kiron. I certainly learned a few things. I thought I knew everything there is to know about sleep hygiene, and the breathing as well. I mean, yeah, breathing is really important. It keeps us alive, but I think we breathe so shallowly as human beings, and I think even more so when we're our fight or flight response, which most of us, that's being triggered. The circumstances are triggering that at the moment. Yeah. Just wonderful stuff. I'm just so grateful for you taking your time out and talking to us. Maybe we can do another one. If anybody's got anything that they'd particularly be interested in hearing about, then put it in the comments below. I'm just going to so if you check out Kiron's LinkedIn profile, she does do remote and online consultations. So feel free to reach out to her either through LinkedIn or her website. And I just want to thank you again, Kiron. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for your valuable wisdom and advice. And stay safe, everybody. stay inside, stay at home, and keep washing your hands. Bye bye.
See you.